All right, so get ready, because today we're going on a deep dive
Ooh, a deep dive.
into the world of the Yeti,
Right.
the Abominable Snowman, as some people call it.
Yeah.
And, we've got articles, movie reviews, even some stuff from, like, gaming forums, so
It seems like.
it seems like you're really interested in.
Yeah, I'm looking for the pop culture angle
Right.
on this legendary creature.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating angle,
Yeah.
because the Yeti's been around for a while.
Yeah, decades.
Decades in our imagination, I mean.
Right. Popping up in movies, TV shows, books, video games.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it, it's out there.
You name it, it's there.
So, it makes you wonder, what is it about this creature
Right.
that just keeps us
coming back for more.
keeps us coming back?
That's a good question. It's not like dragons or unicorns,
Right.
where we kind of know what we're going to get.
Right.
With the Yeti, it's always this big question mark.
That's right, that what if.
The what if, yeah, and that sense of mystery just hooks you, right? But speaking of expectations, some of the early Yeti appearances
Yes.
that I remember were a little scary.
Absolutely.
They really leaned into the abominable.
Yeah, the abominable part of that name.
Yeah, that part of the name.
The Yeti was this monstrous figure lurking in the shadows.
Right.
This symbol of, the dangers of the unknown.
Like in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Bumble was huge, and he had those teeth.
Right.
Those claws.
Yeah, yeah.
He might have ended up as a lovable misfit, but
Well, he was a good guy.
he was a good guy.
But that first impression
Yeah.
as a kid, a little scary.
A little scary, yeah. And I think that played into that classic fear
Yes.
of the wild man, right?
That untamed force of nature
That untamed, yeah.
that could just snatch you away
Right,
if you weren't careful.
yeah. And so, but as we move through the decades,
Right.
the Yeti changes. It's subtle
It is subtle,
at first,
but it's there.
but it's definitely there. And I think a great example of that is Monsters, Inc.
Yeah.
You have the Abominable Snowman, and he even looks a bit like Bumble.
He does, a little bit.
But instead of being scary,
Right.
he's actually helpful,
Helpful, friendly.
friendly.
Yeah.
What do you think sparked that change?
I think it reflects a broader cultural shift in how we perceive, the unknown
The unknown, yeah.
as we become more interconnected as a society.
Right.
Maybe there's less room.
Less room for that monstrous
Yeah, for that purely monstrous
Yeah.
portrayal.
portrayal.
And maybe we're starting to see the Yeti.
Mm.
And by extension, the unknown with a bit more empathy, a little bit more curiosity instead of pure fear.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that. So seeing things from a different perspective.
Right.
You got movies like Smallfoot.
Yeah. Smallfoot, Abominable.
Well, the Yetis are the main characters.
We're not just glimpsing them from the outside anymore.
Right.
We're seeing the world through their eyes.
Yeah, and it's a complete flip of the script.
Yeah.
A complete flip.
Allowing us to explore all these themes of cultural understanding,
Right.
environmentalism.
And even the challenges of navigating
Oh, yeah.
between two different worlds.
They're different worlds.
Smallfoot in particular uses that Yeti perspective
Okay.
to examine our own preconceived notions about the unknown and how fear can be fueled by misunderstanding.
I love that point.
Yeah.
It's not just a fun kids movie. It's actually making us think
Yeah, making us think.
about how we approach things that are different from us.
Right, how we approach the other.
Yeah, okay, so we've got movies.
We've got movies.
We've got TV.
TV.
But the Yeti's also in video games.
Oh, absolutely. And it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
From the classic, Terror of the Yeti chasing skiers.
Chasing skiers in Ski Free.
In Ski Free.
Right.
To the more complex storylines of Far Cry 4's
Okay.
Valley of the Yetis expansion.
Right.
There's a whole spectrum of Yeti experiences out there.
And let's not forget the Spyro series.
Oh, right. Bentley and Bartholomew.
Yeah.
They're iconic Yeti characters.
They are.
And they're full-fledged members of Spyro's team.
They're not just sidekicks.
No.
Yeah, they're right in there with Spyro.
And it really shows how versatile the Yeti is, popping up from lighthearted platformers
Yeah.
to, like action-packed adventures.
It goes beyond just, being a monster to fight
Right.
or a character to befriend.
Right.
Think about the symbolic role the Yeti plays.
Oh, okay.
In some games, like in Uncharted 2, among thieves, the Yeti, or the Guardian as they call it in the game, protects this hidden city, and all of its secrets.
Like guarding.
Yeah, it's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Connecting the Yeti to themes of guardianship,
Yeah.
ancient knowledge and the power of nature.
That's a cool observation. It really does.
Yeah.
Elevate the Yeti, gives it this mythical,
Right.
symbolic weight.
Absolutely.
Okay, But before we get lost in the virtual world,
Right.
let's not forget about books.
The written word.
Yeah, the written word.
Oh, there are some amazing Yeti appearances in literature
Yeah.
that really deserve some attention.
Okay, well, like what?
Well, one that stands out, and, for its influence, is Tintin in Tibet.
Tintin, Tibet.
Sergei's portrayal of the Yeti as this large, intelligent, and noble creature.
Okay.
It was a departure from,
From the scout.
purely monstrous depictions that were so prevalent at the time.
Right, and that departure is what makes Tintin in Tibet so important, because it opens up this whole new way of thinking about the Yeti.
Right. It's not just a beast to be feared.
Right.
It's a being with its own
emotions.
Its own complex emotions, its own story to tell.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that, more nuanced portrayal in Tintin in Tibet really helped pave the way.
Pave the way for the nicer Yeti.
Yeah, the more sympathetic, even,
The heroic Yeti.
The heroic Yeti characters we see in pop culture today.
Yeah, and it's a great example.
It is.
Of how
creative interpretation can have a ripple effect, influencing how we see and understand a myth.
I like that, the ripple effect.
Yeah.
And those ripples have extended beyond.
Oh, absolutely.
With movies and TV and games.
Yeah.
Think about Expedition Everest.
At Disney World. Yeah.
The Yeti, there's this imposing figure, but...
Right, but there's also this sense of awe, right?
Yeah.
Encountering something
really extraordinary.
Truly extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's not just, a scary monster jumping out at you to give you a fright.
Yeah.
It's, a carefully crafted element that adds to the whole experience.
And let's not forget about the real world exploration.
The real world exploration, yes.
Like shows like Expedition Unknown.
Right.
With the
Hunt for the Yeti.
The Hunt for the Yeti episodes.
Yes.
They tap into
that enduring fascination.
The possibility.
With the possibility that this creature could actually exist.
Right.
That blend of folklore and adventure and that thrill of the unknown.
That keeps us coming back.
And
that's just a taste of the Yeti's impact, I think.
Yeah.
We've gone from the fearsome monster to the sympathetic hero. From video game villains to guardians.
Yeah, guardians of ancient knowledge.
And it's clear.
It is.
That the Yeti is.
The Yeti's more than just a legend.
It's a reflection of us.
It's a reflection of our,
our evolving relationship with
the unknown.
The unknown, yeah.
It's a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Onto which we project.
All our hopes and fears and fascination with the wild.
Absolutely.
But there's so much more to explore.
There is. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of this fascinating topic. It's fascinating how the Yeti, despite being this iconic figure in pop culture, remains, shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, we've got all these stories and glimpses. But the creature itself continues to elude us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, lack of concrete proof just adds to the intrigue, wouldn't you say?
I think so. That the Yeti is this
puzzle.
This puzzle that we're constantly trying to solve.
Yeah.
Piecing together bits of folklore.
Right.
Eyewitness accounts.
And those, tantalizing, blurry photographs.
Right. And that puzzle has its roots in the heart of the Himalayas.
It does.
Where the Yeti myth originated.
Centuries ago.
So we're talking about more than just Bigfoot sightings. This goes way deeper. Culturally and historically, tell me about those Himalayan origins.
Well, for the people who live in the shadow of the Himalayas, the Yeti is more than just a creature.
Right.
It's part of their cultural landscape, a symbol of the power and mystery of the mountains.
Okay.
They have different names for it, of course.
Right.
The Meta in Tibetan, the Zute for the Sherpas, and so on. But the core concept remains the same. This large, hairy, bipedal creature that inhabits the high-altitude regions.
So it's not just a single myth.
It's a whole tapestry.
The tapestry of belief.
Of beliefs and stories that have woven their way into the fabric of these cultures.
Over generations. That's incredible.
And those stories often served as a way to explain the unexplainable.
Okay.
The harshness of the mountain environment, the unpredictable weather, the dangers lurking in the shadows. the Yeti became a way to make sense of those things, to personify the forces of nature.
Okay, yeah, so to kind of like project.
Yeah, to project human-like motivations and actions onto something that's ultimately beyond our control.
Right, so we're trying to rationalize.
Yes.
Something you don't understand.
Yes.
Actually.
But what about the Western world?
Right.
How did the Yeti myth make its way into our collective consciousness?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The Western fascination with the Yeti can be traced back to the early 20th century.
Okay.
A time of, exploration and adventure.
Right.
When mountaineering expeditions were pushing deeper into the Himalayas.
So is those intrepid explorers who brought the Yeti myth back with them?
In a way, yes.
Like a souvenir.
Like a souvenir from the roof of the world.
From the roof of the world. I like that.
But
how did that term evolve into the Abominable Snowman?
Right, into the Abominable Snowman that we know today.
Well,
as with many tales that, get passed along, there's a bit of a lost in translation element.
Right.
The journalist writing about the expedition, using the pseudonym Kim, mistranslated Middo as filthy, and decided to spice things up a bit by substituting it with abominable.
And just like that.
The name stuck.
Wow, talk about a journalistic...
Some embellishment.
That really took hold.
But it makes for a better name, I think.
It does.
Abominable Snowman just has a ring to it.
It does have a ring to it.
And that dramatic flair, combined with,
those early accounts
of the footprints.
Of mysterious footprints and sightings really fueled the Western fascination.
With the Yetis. And then there are those iconic photographs that seem to show these giant footprints.
Mm-hmm.
Giant footprints in the snow.
Hinting at the presence of something large and unknown.
Exactly. Those photos, like the ones taken by Eric Shipton in 1951, while attempting to climb Mount Everest, became a focal point for the debate.
Okay.
Some saw them as the best evidence yet for the Yeti's existence, while others dismissed them as, distorted animal tracks or even hoaxes.
So it's like those photos became Rorschach tests.
Yeah.
For people's beliefs.
That's a great way to put it.
You see what you want to see.
Yeah.
Whether it's proof of a mythical creature. Or just a trick of the light.
Or a trick of the light in snow.
And that debate continues.
It does. It continues to this day. Fueled by every new piece of evidence.
Every blurry photograph.
Every
intriguing story.
That emerges.
That emerges from the Himalayas.
Yeah, we're collectively holding our breath.
Right.
Waiting for that one definitive piece of proof.
To solve the mystery.
That will finally solve the mystery of the Yeti.
But in the meantime, we have this amazing blend of science, folklore,
and human imagination.
To keep us entertained.
Exactly. And it's that blend that makes the Yeti myth so captivating. It's a reminder that there are still mysteries out there.
Yeah.
Still things that we don't fully understand.
Right.
And that the search for answers can be just as thrilling.
As thrilling as the discovery.
As the discovery itself.
Okay, but let's talk about those answers for a bit.
Okay.
There have been attempts to explain...
yes, many attempts.
To demystify the Yeti through scientific analysis.
So what have those investigations revealed?
Well, hair samples have been collected, footprints have been measured, and even droppings have been scrutinized.
Wow.
Under the microscope.
So what's the verdict? Is the Yeti just a misidentified bear?
Right.
Or is there something more to it? Well, the results, as you might expect, have been a bit of a mixed bag. Some analyses have pointed to more, mundane explanations, like misidentified animal hairs or tracks.
Okay.
For instance, some of those Yeti hairs turned out to belong to bears, yaks, or even goats.
So just a case of mistaken identity.
It could be.
It makes sense. The Himalayas are home to a lot of different animals.
A lot of fascinating creatures.
And in those conditions... It's easy.
Yeah, it's easy to see how a glimpse of something unusual could be misinterpreted.
Right, but some analyses have been more ambiguous.
Well, they're ambiguous.
Leading to further speculation.
And debate.
Okay, like what?
Well, remember those hair samples collected in the Garo Hills of India? Initial tests were inconclusive.
Okay.
But later DNA analysis revealed a match to a Himalayan goral.
A Himalayan what?
Goral. It's a type of wild goat.
Oh, okay.
So even when there's a DNA match, It doesn't necessarily point to a new or unknown species.
Right.
It could just be a creature we haven't considered before.
I see. So we're still learning.
Still learning. And then there was that 2013 study led by Professor Brian Sykes at Oxford University. His team analyzed hair samples, supposedly belonging to the Yetis, and found a genetic match to an ancient polar bear jawbone from Norway.
Wait, a polar bear in the Himalayas?
I know, right?
That sounds incredible.
That was a surprising finding. And, while some experts doubted the presence of actual polar bears in the Himalayas, it raised the intriguing possibility that a hybrid bear species, or even a previously unknown type of brown bear, could be responsible.
For some Yeti sightings.
With some Yeti sightings.
Okay, so we have this mix of potential explanations. Misidentified animals. Hybrid species. Maybe even unknown types of bears.
Yeah, it's like the Yeti is this blurry image.
Yeah.
And we're trying to bring it into focus. But the more we learn, the more complex the picture becomes.
Right, and I can only imagine the debates.
Oh, the debates and controversies.
That surround
this topic.
This topic, we're talking about a creature that's captured imaginations.
For centuries.
It's not gonna
give up its secrets easily.
No.
You're absolutely right. The Yeti, regardless of its actual existence, has become a symbol, of the enduring power of mystery. And the human desire to explore the unknown.
And speaking of exploration, there are still expeditions.
Oh, absolutely.
Venturing into the Himalayas.
Hoping to find that one piece.
That one piece of definitive proof.
It's
like a real-life Indiana Jones adventure.
It is.
But even if they don't find the creature, those expeditions still contribute.
They do. They contribute valuable knowledge.
About the Himalayan ecosystem.
And the cultures that thrive there.
Right. So it's not all for nothing.
Not at all.
Okay, but let's be honest. There are people who believe the Yeti is nothing more than a hoax.
Right, and with all the blurry photos and the conflicting accounts, it's easy to be skeptical.
Sure. So what are some of the arguments against?
Well, one common argument is that many supposed Yeti sightings can be attributed to, misidentification of known animals. As we discussed earlier, a bear in the mist. A langur monkey at a distance. Those could easily be mistaken for,
for a large, hairy, bipedal creature.
Especially in challenging conditions.
Our brains are wired to see patterns.
They are.
Even when they're not really there.
Right. It's like seeing a face in the clouds or a monster in the shadows.
Right. So misidentification is one explanation. What else? Another argument is the lack of physical evidence.
If there were a population of, large ape-like creatures roaming the Himalayas, you'd expect to find more than just a few blurry photos and footprints. Where are the bones?
Where are the bones?
The nests, the other signs of their presence.
Yeah, if these creatures were real, wouldn't we have found something by now?
It's a question that fuels the debate.
Yeah.
Some argue that the Yeti's elusiveness is part of its mystique, that it's a creature so well adapted to its environment that it can avoid detection. Others contend that the lack of hard evidence points to the Yeti being nothing more than a myth.
It's fascinating how this debate continues, even after all these years.
It's like the Yeti is this blank canvas onto which we project our own beliefs and interpretations.
And let's not forget about the role of culture and folklore.
Oh, absolutely.
In shaping how we...
these stories have been passed down through generations. In the Himalayan region, they're deeply ingrained in the local culture.
So it's not just about a creature.
It's about a worldview.
A
way of understanding
the natural world.
And our place within it.
And those cultural beliefs are powerful.
They are.
They shape how people interpret the evidence.
Absolutely.
How they tell the stories. And how they view the world around them.
Exactly.
So we have this complex interplay of science and culture. And human perception.
All converging. Around this enigmatic creature.
It's no wonder the Yeti
continues to fascinate us.
Mystify us.
And it's a reminder that even in this age of advanced technology and scientific exploration, there are still mysteries out there that defy easy explanation. Mysteries that continue to challenge our understanding of the world and our place within it.
This is incredible.
Well, it is.
We've gone from misidentified footprints
We have
to ancient polar bear DNA.
To ancient polar bear DNA.
From cultural folklore.
To scientific analysis.
And somehow the Yeti is even more intriguing now.
Than when we started.
That's the beauty of the unknown, isn't it?
Yeah.
It invites us to question, to explore. And to embrace the possibility that there's always more to discover.
I couldn't agree more. Now I'm dying to know what the Yeti looks like.
Right.
I mean, we have all these descriptions, but is there any consensus?
That's where the waters get even murky.
Oh, come on, spill the beans.
Descriptions of the Yeti's appearance vary widely.
Okay.
Even among those who claim to have seen it firsthand.
Give me some of the most common descriptions.
Well, the Yeti is often described as being large and ape-like.
Okay.
Covered in hair that ranges in color from white to brown to reddish-brown.
Okay.
Some accounts describe it as having a conical head.
While others say it has a more human-like face.
Okay, so it's kind of all over the place.
It is.
Some say it walks upright, others say it walks on all fours.
Yeah, it's basically a choose-your-own-adventure Yeti.
Choose-your-own-adventure Yeti. Everyone gets to imagine their own version.
In a way, yes, and that ambiguity only adds to the mystery and intrigue.
Okay, but there have been attempts to create more scientific reconstructions of the Yetis, right?
Right.
People have used footprints and eyewitness accounts to try and piece together
what it might actually look like.
So what do these reconstructions look like?
The reconstructions vary.
Okay.
But they tend to depict the Yeti as, a large, robust primate with features that align with,
with other primates.
With known great apes like gorillas or orangutans.
Okay.
Some reconstructions emphasize more human-like features, while others lean toward a more, primitive ape-like appearance.
So I'm picturing like a mix between a gorilla and a really big, hairy human.
That's not a bad starting point.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that these reconstructions are just interpretations based on limited and often unreliable data.
Yeah, it's part of the fun though, right?
It is.
We get to fill in the blanks. With our imaginations.
Exactly. The Yeti, in many ways, is a mirror.
Okay.
Reflecting our own fascination with the unknown, our desire to believe in something
beyond the ordinary.
And
until we have definitive proof,
the mystery will endure.
And the
Yeti will continue to evolve in our collective imagination.
This is amazing. We've covered so much ground.
We have.
The origins of the Yeti myth.
The search for evidence.
The scientific explanations.
Even the creature's, elusive appearance. But there's one thing I still can't wrap my head around.
Okay.
If the Yeti is just a misidentified bear or a hybrid species.
Right.
Why does the myth persist? Why do people still believe?
That's a great question.
And it speaks to, the enduring power of stories and the human need to make sense of the world around us.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me those insights.
Well, for starters, the Yeti myth is deeply ingrained in the cultures of the Himalayan region.
Okay.
These stories have been passed down for generations.
Okay.
And they serve as a way to explain the unknown.
Right.
To instill a sense of awe and respect for the mountains.
Right.
And to connect people to their heritage.
So it's not just about a creature.
No.
It's about a whole worldview.
A
way of understanding the natural world.
And our place within it.
And those cultural beliefs are powerful.
They are very powerful.
They shape how people interpret the evidence, how they tell the story.
Stories.
And how they view the world around them.
Exactly.
Okay, I get the cultural aspect.
Right.
But what about the rest of us?
Right.
I mean, people outside the Himalayas are fascinated by the Yeti, too.
Yeah, right.
What is it about this myth that resonates so widely?
I think it speaks to a universal human desire for mystery and wonder.
Okay.
We're drawn to stories of the unknown, of creatures that exist on the fringes of our understanding.
Right.
The Yeti embodies that sense of mystery.
Right.
That possibility that there are still things out there.
That we haven't discovered.
Or explained.
And in a world that's, increasingly dominated by technology.
Yes.
By science.
And scientific advancements.
The Yeti represents...
Yeah, that little bit of wildness.
That wildness.
That remains, yeah. It's a reminder that there are still things out there that,
that defy categorization.
That
challenge our
neat and tidy...
worldview. And in a way, that can be liberating.
It can.
It allows us to,
to step outside our comfort zone. Step outside of our comfort zone.
To tap in.
That sense of wonder and awe.
Wonder and awe that we often lose touch with as we grow older.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about fear.
No, it's not just about fear.
There's excitement.
There's excitement.
There's adventure.
There's adventure tied to the Yeti myth.
Right. It's like we want to believe that there's still something out there.
That can surprise us.
That can surprise us.
That can challenge our assumptions.
Absolutely.
The Yeti embodies that, spirit of exploration, of pushing the boundaries of what we think we know.
Right, and it's no coincidence.
It's no coincidence.
That the Yeti myth emerged during a time when mountaineering expeditions were just beginning to conquer.
To conquer the Himalayas, there is a sense of daring.
Of pushing the limits.
Of pushing the limits of human endurance. And the Yeti became a symbol of that untamed wilderness, a challenge to be overcome.
So it's almost like the Yeti is a dare.
It is a dare.
A question mark at the edge of our maps.
Yeah.
Beckoning us to explore further.
Beckoning us to explore further.
To delve deeper into the mysteries of the world.
And that's a powerful pull.
Yeah.
Especially in a world
that can often feel predictable.
Predictable and mundane.
Mundane.
The Yeti myth offers a kind of escapism. A chance to imagine a world
where anything is possible.
Where anything is possible.
Where wild creatures roam free.
Where wild creatures roam free.
And where the boundaries of what we think we know
are constantly being pushed.
It's like a reminder that the world is still a magical place.
It is.
Even if that magic is hidden.
Hidden in the shadows.
Waiting to be discovered.
Waiting to be discovered.
Precisely. And that's why the Yeti, real or mythical, will likely continue to fascinate us.
For generations to come.
For generations to come. It's a symbol of that enduring power.
Of the unknown.
Of the unknown.
A reminder that there's always more to learn.
More to explore.
More to explore.
More to wonder about.
And more to wonder about.
Okay, so we've trekked through all the history, the evidence, the cultural significance of the Yeti.
Right.
But now we're going even deeper.
Yeah, even deeper.
Into the psychology of it all.
Into the psychology of it all.
Why are we as humans so drawn to these tales of mysterious creatures?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the Yetis and other creatures like it really tap into a very primal part of our psyche,
Okay.
That blend of fear and fascination, the allure of the unknown.
Right.
Keeps us captivated.
So it's not just about wanting to find a big, hairy creature out in the mountain.
No, there's something more at play here.
There's something deeper.
Yeah, think about the stories we tell ourselves,
Right.
The myths and legends that shape our understanding of the world.
Like,
the Yeti, as a concept, embodies those things that we can't quite explain. Those forces that are bigger than us.
So it's like the Yeti is a stand-in.
Yeah, a stand-in for those mysteries of nature.
For the mysteries of nature.
Those things that we can't fully grasp or control.
And in a world where we're constantly striving for order. For control. For those scientific explanations.
Right.
The Yeti represents.
Yeah, that little bit of wildness.
The wildness that remains.
That remains, yeah.
And it's a reminder that there are still things out there.
Yes.
That defy categorization.
That's
Absolutely. Our very neat.
Our neat and tidy worldview.
Yeah. And in a way, that's kind of.
That can be quite liberating, I think.
It can be, yeah.
It allows us to step outside of our comfort zone.
Right.
To tap into that sense of wonder.
The wonder.
And awe that we often,
we
lose touch with as we get older.
Yeah, as we get older.
The Yeti reminds us that the world is still full of mysteries. And that's something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Not feared.
And it's not just about the fear, is it?
No, it's not just about the fear.
There's a sense of excitement.
Oh, yeah.
There's adventure.
The adventure.
Tied to the Yeti.
Right. It's like we want to believe that there's still something out there that can surprise us, that can challenge our assumptions.
Right?
Absolutely.
So the Yeti really embodies that spirit of exploration.
That spirit of exploration, yeah.
That pushing the boundaries.
Of what we think we know.
And
it's no coincidence, that the Yeti myth emerged during a time
when those mountaineering expeditions
Yeah, they were just beginning to conquer the Himalayas.
Right, so there was this
sense of daring.
Yeah.
Of pushing the limits
of
human endurance.
And the Yeti becomes this symbol.
Yeah, a symbol of that untamed wilderness.
Of that untamed wilderness, right?
It's a challenge to be overcome.
A challenge to be overcome. So it's almost like...
Yeah, it's like the Yeti is a dare.
A dare, yeah, like a question mark.
A question mark at the edge of our maps.
Right.
Beckoning us to explore further.
Yeah, to delve deeper into those mysteries.
To delve deeper into those mysteries of the world.
And that's a powerful pull.
That is a powerful pull, especially in a world...
that can feel so predictable.
Predictable and mundane.
So mundane.
You know, the Yeti myth offers us a kind of escapism.
Okay.
A chance to imagine a world where anything is possible.
Anything is possible, yeah. Where those wild creatures roam free. And where the boundaries of what we think we know
are constantly being pushed.
They're constantly being pushed.
Right.
It's like a reminder that the world is still a magical place.
That it is.
Even if that magic is hidden, waiting to be discovered.
Hidden in the shadows, waiting to be discovered.
And that's why I think...
Yeah, I think that's why the Yeti.
Whether
real or mythical.
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Will probably continue to fascinate us.
It will, for generations to come. It's a symbol of that enduring power of the unknown. You know, a reminder that there's always more to learn.
There's always more to learn.
More to explore and more to wonder about.
Well said. This deep dive has been...
It has been a journey.
Yeah, exploring...
Exploring not just the Yeti itself,
yeah,
but our own, human relationship with mystery.
With the mystery, with wildness, and that enduring allure of the unknown.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe one day,
yeah,
we'll finally have a definitive answer
yeah,
to the question of the Yeti's existence.
But
until then,
the
journey of exploration,
yeah,
both outward into the world and inward into ourselves. What truly matters.
Beautifully put. To all our deep divers out there, keep your eyes open.
Keep your eyes open.
Keep your minds curious. And never lose your sense of wonder. Until next time, keep exploring the depths.
Keep exploring.